Hi friends. Oh, brothers and sisters, it's really good to see you guys today. It is. I am Melissa, for anyone who's new with me today on my channel, and I am a grieving mother. And today's video, I'm just going to jump right in it, friends, like I do, you know. We have cloudy, dreary weather today, this April, and I keep looking outside my window, but it's cloudy and it's chilly, and so yeah, it kind of has me a little grouchy, a little irritable, feeling a little blase. So yeah, that's probably some of the reason behind my tone of my voice and the whole look and all of that. You know, it's a cloudy, cool day. And so in grief, cloudy days definitely affect my grief, you know, heavy overcast days and coolness with it. Yeah, it makes me really tired, like sleepy tired, exhausted tired, and unmotivated. But anyways, friends, today's topic on my video was teen guilt. And this is definitely a hard topic to talk about. I made a video several months ago about my own guilt. And so we still have two teenagers at home, ages 16 and 18. And we lost our two youngest children 4.5 years ago, Noah and Sophia. And Noah was 7 years old and Sophia was 5 years old. So 4.5 years ago, we lost them, a really awful traumatic death. And we all deal with guilt in our family. And our teenagers were ages 12 and 14 when Noah and Sophia were killed. And they've spent their adolescence in grief. And it's been very challenging, you know, to put it nicely. And the teenagers think this is my fault somehow. In teen guilt, they definitely think this is my fault somehow. And we adults feel that way. Oh my goodness, we feel that way. Okay, so basically, you know, everything that I'm going to talk about in this video, I can relate 100% to these teenagers. I really can. And so I just felt like sharing this with you as we are navigating and experiencing this grief with our teenagers. You know, my previous video, I was talking about how loss can cause teenagers to question their sanity, right? And I just talked about how that we can put them at ease by reminding them that they're not crazy. They're just in a crazy ass situation. Right, that's what I was talking about in my last video. And so this one is about the guilt. So, you know, in times of loss, teenagers, they definitely can see themselves as somehow being responsible for things that are beyond their control. They blame themselves. Forgive me, I have my notes. I do, grief brain. I've already, actually, the first couple of minutes got off topic and was talking about what I didn't even write down. So, yeah, the grief brain just, it does that, friends. It does that, you know, and I just want to keep rambling and talking. I don't know. You know, I know some of us like to talk and some of us don't. I naturally am a talker. So I have found myself in grief wanting to talk. So hence the videos. But guilt can be persistent, friends, and painful, nuisance. I call them the P evil twins. Persistent and painful is guilt. And I'm going to read some things from the grieving teenager's heart, like my other videos. You know, it's just good to hear straight out of their heart what they think about this, and gives me insight. Some of these from my teenagers, others from other anonymous grieving teenagers that have experienced the death of someone in their family that they love very, very much. One thought is, I miss you. I haven't really admitted that to myself much. I can't believe you're dead. I keep looking for you. Another thought, I wish I had said more. I wish sometimes I had said less and listened more. If I had said or done the right thing and had said or done it enough, maybe you would still be here. If I had been nicer and reached out to you more. If only. Yeah, I can relate to that. I can most definitely relate to that thought. Another thought, then there are the things I wish I had not said and hadn't done. I regret every unkind word and every eye roll. I said things I wish I could take back or erase somehow. Some people would say these are little things, even tiny, but they seem pretty huge right now. Sometimes I dream I can reach back there and turn things around. Oh my goodness, friends, I can definitely relate to that teenager's heart. Really, I can. I feel that way regarding my mother and my dad. You know, my mom and dad died a year ago. A year and a half ago, my mom died, and a year ago, my dad died, and shorter than that. But anyways, yes, I regret every eye roll I did with them. I regret things that I did not say and things I never should have. You know, I definitely can relate to that. Most definitely relate to that. Another thought is, did I hurt you? I know I did. How did you feel about me when you died? Are you thinking about me now? Do you think at all? Are you alive somewhere else, or are you just gone? Another thought, there is no going back, is there? There's no going back, period. There's no staying in this moment either. Time moves on, and I must too. But I don't know what that means yet. I can relate to that teenager because it's 4.5 years for us and we're still unsure. What does that mean? I mean, actually each day we are learning piece by piece what that even means to live this day without Noah and Sophia. This day without them. And then this day knowing that Malik is still alive on earth. He's in a prison serving a 96-year sentence, which is a life sentence. I mean, he's 24 years old right now. And it feels similar to a death. But we've experienced real death, so, it's not the same by any means. Right? Because we can write to Malik, he can call, we could hear his voice, we can even choose to go visit him if we want to, but not Noah and Sophia, not my mom and my dad. And so, time moves on. We're not even allowed to stay in these moments, and that's hard, and teenagers recognize that. Another thought from a teenager, I should probably let this go and give myself a break. Honestly, though, guilt feels good some of the time. I think I deserve it. Did I cause this? Is it my fault? My mind screams no, while my heart whispers in shame, yes. Yeah, I can relate to that, teenager. Very much so. That might as well have been my sentence. Another thought, maybe it's my fault. What do I do with that? Another thought, I'm the reason you left. I caused your death. I missed something. I wasn't where I should have been. I didn't say what I should have. I let you down, and now you're dead. Yeah, definitely relate to that one too. And I definitely talked about these in my other video. I did, because it is so much the truth, and especially as their mother, it is. Here's another thought, simple math. I could have been there and done something I wasn't and didn't. Now you're dead and I'm still alive. Yep, it's my fault. Another thought, I hate myself. Of course I can't tell anyone that or they would freak out. I've had enough freakouts. Another thought, I didn't say all that I should have. I said and did crap that now I can't take back or erase. There is no delete button here. It isn't on this keyboard. I suck, period. Another thought, my grades are slipping. I sense people pulling away from me. Another thought from a teenager, I get angry easily. I pop off or explode on a moment's notice. I'm ticked and it's right below the surface, ready to spew all over the place. I feel out of control. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Definitely relate to that. Most definitely. Another thought, I drive faster. I take more risks. I feel like starting a fight. Oh, I can relate to that one as well. Guilt definitely does that. You get angry, and there's been many times I'm ashamed to say it out loud, but even like with my own husband, I understand, as we have experienced grief, why people warned us at the beginning that marriages don't all survive the death of a child. And we lost 2 children at the exact same time, buried them together. So this was like everything times 2 multiplied to the umpteenth power. So anyways, it does that. It does that. Guilt definitely makes you feel that way, Another thought is, maybe I should start something with the guy with the gun. Then I could get shot and be free of this mess. So I'm a teenage boy. Another thought, I let this happen. I could have prevented this. It could have been different. You could still be alive, but you're not. I suck. Oh, yeah, I really relate to these thoughts, friends. I do, Guilt is common in grief. And as I'm walking and sometimes crawling through my wilderness of grief, and in the shadowy, dark places, I get to run into other grievers and other precious souls who've had to bury their children also, or child, and or mother, or father, or spouse. And these deep connections, these deep relationships that we have with people. It's awful. We miss their presence so much. I do. It doesn't matter how deep the faith is. I miss their presence, and it's just such a common companion, guilt, for those of us experiencing a loss. And I see that even in loss of jobs or divorce or the loss of a home, the guilt that the person has over that loss. It's awful, but it's common. We all experience it, and we're looking for answers, right? And we analyze ourselves, and we evaluate past words and behavior, and in grief, we have guilt over the death. I most definitely have mountains of guilt that the Lord removed off my shoulders the first 3 years of grieving my children. And I'm always evaluating the past things that I said and did with Malik, with his counselors, with his therapist, with others. And then now, okay, so we still fast forward to today, we're in relationships with people today. And I'm ashamed to admit that I have let people down. And I have guilt right now over the loss of a friendship. And it's an uncomfortable place to be. It really is. But yet, there it is when we experience a loss. And we analyze ourselves. We do. We analyze the things, and we're looking for answers. We imagine what we could have said or done that might have made a difference, especially in this death. What could I have done and said that could have made a difference for Malik, for his mental health illness? And I know his siblings feel the same way. These teenagers do too. So they're grappling with their guilt and with the things that they wonder what could they have even had done differently for or with Malik. And so it's rough. That's putting it nicely. We dig a hole for ourselves, basically, crawl in, and then we just keep on digging. Someone must be responsible, and it might as well be us, right? I am the mother after all. And I'm sure they're thinking at times, well, I was the big brother and sister after all. Our hearts have been crushed, friends. They've been crushed. They have been crushed. And so now, while we are hurting and vulnerable, guilt sees its opportunity and it comes knocking at the door, right? And unthinking, we open the door to this very familiar intruder, right? And then if he's allowed to do so, which 9 times out of 10 he is, he brings his little ass right on inside, unpacks his bags, and takes up residence, doesn't he? Yeah, guilt is familiar to most of us, but he is not our friend. Guilt is very familiar to teenagers, but he is not their friend. You know, guilt, it entices us, it coaxes us into living in this realm of what if and if onlys. Right? He focuses us on the past and what we did or didn't do. That's what guilt does. He awakens within us this desire to play God, right? And to be in control. He fools us into thinking we are more powerful than we are. We expect ourselves, especially as the parent, especially as the mother, to know everything, be everywhere at once, and to be able to do whatever is necessary to produce the desired outcome that I want. Teenagers feel the same way. Same way, you know? And most of all, as the parents, and I know these as their big brother and sister, we feel that we should have been able to ward off all disasters and catastrophes and murders. Except here's the thing: when you're living life and just in the throes of raising your children and going to the zoo and to the park and to school and to church and you're just living life, you don't think about murder. It's not in your realm of what you need to protect your children from. It just isn't. My environment didn't cause us to think that way, you know. But that's what guilt does. And if guilt is allowed to roam about our hearts, it steals our lives. It does. It does. A hospice patient once said, "Guilt is bad stuff. It will eat your mind." Yeah, that's well said. Guilt is bad stuff. It'll eat your mind. Yeah, I can agree with that. You know, teens are already in such a vulnerable place in life. They're wondering who they are, where they belong, and how to live. Right? They really are. They typically sometimes see themselves as more powerful than they really are. But for instance, just yesterday, my daughter's getting ready to go on an interview. And she was talking to me and her dad yesterday, and she says to my husband, he says to her, "Just be yourself. Just be yourself in the interview." And her immediate initial response was, "I don't know who I am." Yeah. So that's the teenage mind already. They don't know who they are. Like she's not even able to tell someone in an interview who she is. Like that thought, even by the proposition given to her by her dad, she was like, "I don't know who I am." So then you got grief talking to him, this non-friend of an intruder that's weaved its way into their hearts, you know? Teenagers definitely feel naturally prone to guilt. When you think about it, you know, because if something bad happens, they tend to take it on. They do. They really do, guys. "It's my fault" becomes the default. It's my fault. That becomes the default internal message when something bad or unpleasant happens. Either way, you know, they could have or should have done something else, been somewhere else, or said something else. It's their fault. And guilt naturally leads to anger. It does. And that anger can be focused outward, inward, or both. So, you know what I mean? Like getting into fights at school, yelling, screaming, you know, whatever. Inwardly, depression, cutting and harming themselves. You know, friends, guilt is so common in grief. It is so common in grief. And teenagers have they're more than their fair share of guilt. You know, they really, truly do, friends. And the Lord has been showing me these last 4.5 years, I still can make a difference. And that's how I'm going to end it with you. you can make a difference. You can make a difference. You know, that number one, we just need to know that guilt is common in grief, and it's a frequent guest in teenagers' hearts. And even when there has not even been a loss, you know, guilt's voice is very familiar and influential for the teenager. It is, right? And if teens have had enough experience with this intruder, they can easily confuse guilt's voice with their own. Okay? Guilt whispers, "It's your fault. It's your fault." Right? And over time, they believe it. It's an awful lie, but and they do believe it, you know? So then now when guilt speaks, it's in the first person. It's my fault. I'm bad. I suck. It's an awful place to be, you know? Guilt does not help. It is not the teenager's friend. It is not our friend. Guilt is not our friend. Guilt is our enemy. Yeah, and we got to recognize that. We must recognize that guilt is not helpful in any shape, form, or fashion. No, you know, and the Lord's blood, the Lord himself, he washes away that guilt and he replaces it with himself. He replaces it with peace. And I may not be able to understand or explain Malik's actions, but little by little, the Lord's love is the balm for my guilt. And his love that just surrounds me. And it convicts cleanly and smoothly and lovingly. It doesn't convict condemning. It doesn't convict that way, you know. And it makes you want to be a better person when it's with the Lord, you know, the conviction of the Lord. And you don't, yes, I'm ashamed and embarrassed about some of my behavior, especially in particular with the friend that I lost, you know, and it keeps me in that humbled place that I don't ever want to act that way again. I don't never want to lose a friend under those conditions again. I never want to behave that way again and make that type of foolish choice again. And my grief has caused me to make some extremely desperate, weird, foolish choices. And they are, don't feel good about myself for them. Definitely don't feel comfortable in my skin for them. Yeah. And teenagers too. You know, secondly, we just be aware that most teenagers feel responsible and guilty, even if they say they don't. Okay? The proof is often in their attitudes and behaviors, if you think about it. Are they punishing themselves somehow? Like, are they more irritable and angry? Are they eating noticeably more or less? Are they neglecting personal hygiene? Do they refuse to have fun or don't enjoy what they used to? Do they seek danger more and behave recklessly? Those could be very well signs of their guilt has manifested and turned into their anger, and that they're operating and trying to deal each day with all this guilt weighing on them that's making them very angry because their spirits know it doesn't belong with them. It's not their fault. The death is not their fault. You know, some teenagers, maybe they could be harming themselves physically, like I said earlier, maybe cutting themselves, you know, or hitting. They begin to have morbid thoughts of death, including suicide. So someone's to blame, they think. I'm alive, you're dead, I feel guilty, it's my fault, is what the teen's heart reasons. Guys, it does. And thirdly, like most of what I was already talking about in my video, we've got to be aware of and deal with our own internal reservoir of guilt. We just have to, friends. Or we won't be of much good for our teens if we don't, okay? We just, like with everything else, right? We gotta look to our own heart, and I gotta consider my own catalog of regrets. Like I said earlier, I've got quite a few of them, you know, and how have you dealt with guilt in your own life? It's a question to ask yourself, I'm sure, maybe, you know, and is there still work to be done in this area? you know? Perhaps it's time to do some expressing and releasing. That's what the Lord showed me. You know, the Lord showed me, you know, Melissa, it's time for you to start doing some expressing and releasing. Hence my videos, but also my journal writing. I've been writing in journals for the last like 4.5 years, and I spend a lot of time expressing myself to the Lord, to my husband, to a few friends. But yeah, expressing and releasing definitely seems to do worlds of good. And I'm a talker already, so I tend to like to talk a lot. But if it's possible and where appropriate, we really need to consider making amends where we can. Most definitely. And it's painful when amends are unable to be met. If the other party or the other person is just unwilling to forgive you or cross that bridge over and make the amend with you and accept. It's a painful place. And I just keep trusting God for that. God's love is the most powerful force in the entire universe. So I just keep hoping in His love, believing in His love that's going to cover these wounds that I caused in someone else, that was caused in me, so on and so forth. Learning to forgive ourselves, right? Forgiving is not forgetting. We don't need to confuse those two, right? You know, and forgiveness is saying that this hurt and it matters greatly and this hurts a lot. But we're not going to let this mistake and the guilt attached to it rule our hearts and lives. Yeah. I'm not there yet with Malik. What he's done and the guilt attached to that still rules parts of my heart and my life. But I'm walking with the Lord on that one. You know, guilt hinders our ability and our desire to connect, engage, and love others. It sure does. See that in teenagers too. They have zero desire to connect with anyone in their household, any friends, zero desire to engage in life, and they are unable to love others. Same with us adults too, when we're dealing with the heavy amounts of grief. And like we said, the grief causes anger, and we're irritable and grouchy and angry, and then everything else. And guilt keeps us from being real and authentic. It does. And sometimes we just end up lying, piling one lie on top of another lie on top of another lie to not feel the guilt. And the teenager doing the same thing. Or we're eating more and more and more to not feel the guilt, or whatever the thing is, right? It is a painful luxury our hearts cannot afford, friends. It's a painful luxury our hearts cannot afford. Guilt. Dealing responsibly and effectively with guilt is a wonderful gift we can give to our teenagers. That's what the Lord is showing me. You know, to deal with my guilt with Him is the most wonderful gift I can give to my teens, to my family, to my husband, to my friends, to the people around me even. You know, guilt is stubborn though. Holy shit, is it stubborn. And it doesn't give up easily. Not at all. And guilt's a sneaky motherfucker, because you might think you've got it taken care of, or you've booted it out of your heart, or it's been removed out of your heart, and then a trigger comes around and there it was. Then came in through your damn back door. You're like, oh, holy shit, I forgot I gave you a key to the back door, guilt. Yeah, that's what that's like. In times of loss, many teens feel responsible, friends. They do. Guilt is common, but it is not their friend. I'm just going to stop there. I probably could just keep going and going and going, and these teen videos are getting longer and longer. I appreciate you guys so much. I just cannot express how much I appreciate you hanging with me to the end, you know, and sticking with me. Hey, if you're new with me, go ahead and subscribe to my video. If you like it, hit the like button. But it's been an honor to share my heart with you, friends. It's been an honor. It's been an honor to share what we're going through with our teenagers too. So, and I pray it encourages you in your walk with your teenagers. Just remember, friends, guilt is familiar to all of us, but it is not our friend, and it is very common in grief. So, well, be well today and be blessed, and I will see you on my next video.